Hello, welcome to volume 35 of Ask a Brit, and if you're wondering why I'm wearing a hat inside, it's because it's cold, obviously. It's not, it's because I haven't had a shower and I have terrible hair today. But this, of course, is the show in which I ask you fine people to ask me any question you like, so long as you use the hashtag AskABrit in the comments below. That way I can find your question next week for volume 36. And what a week it's been on my channel. I got my wife to be on the show for her first sustained appearance, and what a success it was. And in fact, because it was such a success, and because of all of your kind comments, she is going to appear on the show, not today, but again, she will appear on the show soon enough, and hopefully it's going to become quite a frequent thing, which excites me and you, and I think her. I think she's getting to this point now of acceptance that this is going to be her job from now on. But enough prattling on from me, let's get to the questions. That's actually my mouth, but my mouth answers the questions. And the first question, in fact, today comes from Brooke, and Brooke says that she's been watching Some Mothers Do Have 'Em, and is currently, or is going to watch Fawlty Towers after that. What BBC sitcom should I watch next? Well, if you've watched Some Mothers Do Have 'Em, then you can take anything after that. So Fawlty Towers is a very good choice, I think. My next suggestion would be Blackadder. Though I don't know if you should start with Blackadder, the first one. It's a bit different to the three that come after it, in that Blackadder isn't the sort of sarcastic git that he turns out to be, and that's part of the charm or the brilliance, I think, of the last three series. Start with the first one if you want to, but just know that it is going to change after that, and for my money it gets even better. Blackadder the second, phenomenal show. And the next question then comes from 1963 Iota. Iota, that's a word that Americans use, isn't it? The Brits don't so often. But anyway, 1963 Iota asks a multi-part question. Why do people in the UK, and Australia for that matter, say going to hospital instead of saying going to the hospital? And also, what is it about the difference between saying going on holiday and not saying going on vacation, as well as saying attended university instead of saying the name of the college? So multi-part question. To answer the first part there, we do sometimes say going to the hospital. It's kind of a differentiation that we choose here. When we say going to hospital, we mean that in the sense that we're going there for the very thing that the hospital is intended for. We're going there for surgery. We're going there so that nurses can look at my bruises, and all that kind of thing. So that's the normal side of going there. If you're going to the hospital, you may be going to a specific hospital for us, or we may be going there for reasons outside of the purpose of getting medical treatment. I'm going to the hospital to see a friend whose bruises are being looked at by nurses. That way it alleviates any concern that somebody might have that you're going there because you're ill or something like that. I think that's true anyway. I'm probably making most of that up. As for vacation and holiday, it's a very interesting one, that, because holiday, of course, originally comes from holy day, and that's why we use holiday to refer to things like Christmas, as it were. But of course that expanded over time to just generally mean the holidays, as we just had at Christmas. We take it one further to mean that to get away, to go on, holiday to sunny Spain and all of that, whereas Americans, quite rightly, are using the word vacation, and vacation is not a word, in fact, that was created by Americans for this purpose. It's a word that goes back decades, centuries even, and its use in language absolutely predates the emergence of American English, and of course it just means to vacate, to leave your current situation and temporarily better it by going to, sunny Spain or Chicago. I've been on vacation for 1.5 years, because that's how long I've lived here. And that's really that. I'm not really sure when it diverged to mean holiday as in, to take a vacation, but it did. And that's what we say. Sometimes we'll pluralize that to say we're going on our holidays, even though it's only one holiday. And the final part of your question, we refer to having gone to university, or uni for short, for the very reason that we just feel lucky to have gotten into any university, right? We don't have that same sense of pride, I don't think, generally speaking, about the university we attended. I mean, it's very interesting. We don't use terms very often like alma mater, to say this university was my alma mater, and I know that there's quite a lot of pride among Americans over the university that they went to. It's not that we won't speak about it. I do. I often talk about how I, frequented is the wrong word, but I like it anyway, Lancaster University. I think it's more this sort of, this sense of it creates my own personal history. I lived in Lancaster, a very historical town, and that was more interesting to me than the fact that Lancaster University was my alma mater. But, that's partly the difference. Also, of course, the difference between university and college, if we're talking about it in the general sense. Americans often say, I went to college. I will say I went to university or uni. So there is that. But great questions there, 1963 IOTA. I know that I did rather go around in circles there, but if you've seen this show before, that tends to happen. Next question is from K. Rowe. K. Rowe, I used to know somebody called K. Rowe. K. Rowe asks, I've been told that my last name may have British roots. Rowe. Is that a common name in there, or more common than here? If so, how is it pronounced there? It is common. I used to know somebody called K. Rowe. I've already said that. And I pronounce it thus, Rowe. And I think, the fact that it has an E on the end kind of informs my pronunciation there. Perhaps if it didn't, I might be confused as to whether it's Rowe or Row, because we have a word row in the English language that, follows that rule. But yeah, no, I'd say as Rowe, and I think you're right, it does have its roots in English, and I think it goes back to Old English, and this is an interesting thing. I think historically it comes from, people that would live in road houses. And so they sort of took that name on in whatever capacity that entailed, and it kind of stuck. It's like a lot of names. My last name is Brown. Presumably we had dirty underpants. No, that doesn't run in the family. I hope, anyway. Next question then comes from Jamie Ramone, who simply asks, Atari ST or Amiga? Amiga, every day of the week. And the next question today comes from Killer Mongero. That's a really clever YouTube name, unless, of course, you are a homicidal maniac. If you are, stay away. If not, we'll go along with this question. I've watched a fair amount of British comedy panel shows, so Celebrity Juice, Have I Got News For You, etc. Many of them have openings with animated photographs, right? I've noticed this trend going all the way back to Monty Python. What is the British fascination with animated photographs? It's cheap, isn't it? If you're low on a budget, as the BBC tends to be because of cuts, it's very easy to just piece together a lot of sort of images from the week or from the year or whatever. Put some music over the top of that. Bob's your uncle. You've got an intro. I've even done it at times. So, and I've got a worse budget than the BBC by about a factor of 1,000. So that's really my answer. I don't know that for a fact, but I can only assume that is the case. Next question comes from Paul Cruz. I like that name because I can do a sort of rolled R sometimes with that name. What's different between south of London and your accent, Lawrence? A number of differences, one of which would be, well, for instance, the way I pronounce the word number. Did you hear that? They'd say namba, because they that's how they pronounce their sound, bus versus bass. If I was from, south of London or indeed London itself, I wouldn't go in that room and take a bath. I'd take a bath, or sometimes a bath, which sounds like sick to Americans. So, I wouldn't do either, is what I'm saying. I haven't taken a bath in a while, as indicated by the fact that I'm hiding my hair. Okay, and the next question comes from Media Viewer. This is 2 questions. Do Americans have a smell? Yeah, you all smell of cinnamon. Cinnamon and sweet corn. Sitting on a plane next to an American for 8 hours leaves you both nauseous and hungry at the same time. And Media Viewer's second question, are you using your wife for a green card? Well, this isn't like the film Green Card. It's quite hard, actually, to get your green card. They're quite thorough in finding out whether you are a legitimate couple or not. If this is a marriage of convenience, then it's lasted a long time. 10 years in February, woo! And if it is a marriage of convenience, I wouldn't have done woo on camera like that. So no, to answer your question, it's not a marriage of convenience. I even allow wife on show, and I refer to her as wife. I do understand that probably makes it look like I don't value her as a human being. But to be fair, she does refer to me as Brown, which, as we clarified, can strike images of dirty underwear. She also calls me Lawrence, lover and husband. So not in that order, usually. And the final question today comes from Carla the Canuck. And Carla the Canuck, again, it's a TV show-based question. Growing up, most British shows or movies that I watched were period pieces. So as a child, I believed that all Brits must have valets or lady maids. What do you mean we don't? We don't. It's not true. And other servants, I do have a servant. His name is Gerald. Gerald! He went to get the groceries. And couldn't imagine why anyone would want to live in North America. Did you have any preconceived notions like that about North Americans growing up? I did. I've pointed some of them out on this show before. I thought you were all rich and had wonderful teeth. But to be more specific on the first part, about being rich, I thought you all lived in Kevin McAllister's house from Home Alone, which, of course, very few people do. And I used to think that everybody was super confident here, like terrifyingly confident. And it turns out that's not the case. There are people with insecurities here, which is magnificent. It's not magnificent. I mean, it's what it is. But it puts you at ease as somebody who is a rather, clumsy and stuttering Englishman. I can actually stutter my way into people's hearts, not physically. That would be painful for them. They may die. But Americans, just like everyone else in the world, have their set of needs, and they'll go about those in any means necessary. I lied, that's not the final question today. The final question comes from Kentix, a very satisfying name. When you sign off at the end by saying visit our website, is that a version of the royal we, or are you crediting wife with being a co-contributor to your enterprises? It started out by being the royal we, and then she weaseled her way into this. No, I asked her to be my producer. And as she became my producer, it took on a life of its own, and so it refers to the plurality of us, and she's happy about that. Oh, she's still asleep. I didn't need to make all that up. No. That's it for this episode of Ask a Brit. Please keep your questions coming using the hashtag #AskABrit. Do follow me, us, whatever, on Twitter. I've been enjoying our conversations on Twitter recently. It's a social media network that I previously didn't really give any attention to because I didn't know how to use it. But now that I've worked it out, it is bloody fun. So do that, and also follow me on Instagram so you can see really beautiful pictures of me covered in snow and all manner of other stupid things, and you can talk to me there too. And follow me on Facebook. You will be able to see some of the articles that I share from lostinthepond.com right on there, and as well as the aforementioned social media outlets. And as I just mentioned, you can go to lostinthepond.com, and if you want to support the channel, you can do so at patreon.com/lostinthepond. Until next week, have a bloody cold week, but a good one. Bye.